Yo, my name is DeAndre Official, and right now you're tuning in to the I Am Him podcast.
All right. So I have a question for you, Dre. Or you don't mind if I call you Dre, right?
That's cool.
So, as a man, what generational problems have you had that you're working on yourself to make sure that you don't pass them along to your sons or your children in general? What problems or traumas have you had growing up that would say, hey, that's not something I want to give to my family. I need to probably change that or work on it.
Yeah, I would say for me the very first thing is being there, and not just being there, but being there and being present at the same time. Because I've seen both sides not work out. So I grew up without my dad in my life. I knew who he was, but we only talked on occasion. Like my first time I remember meeting him, I was like 6 years old, and he just told me, come here, put on some clothes, we're about to go and meet your other siblings. That was like
that was it. Like, hey son, how you doing? Long time no see. Nah, just get dressed, time to go.
Time to go.
like he just been there.
Yeah,
like he just seen you this morning. Like, okay.
So it was rough, growing up without him, only having small talk, and I didn't realize later in my adult life, until I ended up in therapy, that like one of the main things I wanted to hear him say to me was like, "I'm proud of you." I never heard that, you know what I mean? And when you have small talk and they just ask you about, well, how's school going? Okay, well, do I need to send another check? Stuff like that. You never get around to things that you're actually interested in, So one of the things I want to make sure is that like I help my sons like discover their identity, discover their gifts, you know what I mean, and hold on to that, because that's why I feel like I had to search and find all my life. And so my dad passed away when I was 22, and we were living in different states, and he got sick. And when he got sick, immediately I got angry. The first thing to be honest, what I really wanted to do was go and cuss him out before he passed. I'm really being honest. That's really how I felt. And that's because over the years, our conversations were okay. But over the last couple of years, when I got older, they got bad because I was more aware of what my actual family dynamic was like. That I was poor with a single mom, you know what I mean, and you're over here and we don't have anything. And one of our last conversations before he got sick was him telling me that I didn't graduate from school on time, so having to do an extra year of school meant he had to pay an extra year of child support, and he was upset about that. And I was like,
"That's crazy.
You've never helped me with a math problem. How can you get mad about me having to do school over again?" And actually verbalize that, So I got really upset, and I couldn't forgive him at the time. And when he got sick, I was informed that he was sick, and I really prayed. I feel like God told me to go see him. Go see him, go talk to him. And I went. And I saw him, and I talked to him. Like I said, I have other siblings also that he had. So my anger was.
Did he want to see you? Like, did he reach out to you?
He never reached out to me. He didn't. I don't remember being requested to come. My family members just came and told me, "Oh, your dad's sick, so you might want to come see him, and it's getting bad fast." So I went, and my anger was not just for me, but also because I felt like he didn't take care of my other siblings too. He had 6 kids and all, and he wasn't really present in none of their lives. And I have an older sibling that was in jail for life, and I blamed him. You know what I mean? Because he had another parent that passed away, and my dad didn't step in and take care of him. So I blamed him for that. But when I got to see him, like in his sickness, I had a moment of actually, talking to him, and I forgave him. You know what I mean? I told him about everything that I felt, and he was so sick. He had made it to the point where he couldn't respond verbally, like he couldn't talk. So he, even though he couldn't respond verbally, he just squeezed my hand. He let me know, like, I hear what you're saying, and so when it comes down to my sons, I still sometimes, from random stories from my mom, discover things like about their dynamic and about their relationship. From a child's point of view, it's just dad wasn't there. That's the only thing I could think of. But as I got older, was like hearing like, oh, y'all had an apartment, getting ready to move in with each other when he found out you was pregnant, but then never showed up after that. You know what I mean? Like, things, I didn't know these things, until I got older and started to hear some of those things. And I do feel like, one of the first things I did to break the tradition, and this is a tough one, but my youngest son, I was, with him when I was there for all my children's births. But my youngest son, that was the only son that the doctors allowed us to cut the umbilical cord. And so I cut the umbilical cord. I called my mom, I'm telling her, I'm like, hey, I got the chance to cut this umbilical cord. Like, I'm excited, I'm happy about it. And she's like, no, that's great. And she was like, I'm proud of you for being able to do that because your father didn't cut yours. He said he was going to be there at the hospital, but, he never showed up, and that made me happy and sad at the same time. It gave me joy that I did it, but it hit me in my heart. You know what I mean? Like that actual, her telling me that story is what made me like break down and go to therapy all the way. I was like, hey, I think I need something. You know what I'm saying? Because there's more to unpack that I didn't know. Sure. Yeah. And so being proud of them, giving them identity. I think that's important because I feel like I had to search and find mine. I dealt with, depression a whole lot growing up as a kid. Also, I think the other thing I want to be able to show my sons is, how to really love and maintain a marriage, to maintain a relationship with a woman. Because seeing my mom single, growing up and witnessing that, besides however she is in relationships personally, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know everything about that. But I do know that I always wanted a unit growing up. I wanted to see mom and dad, you know what I'm saying, in the house. So I wanted to be able to provide that. And to piggyback off of something that you said a little bit earlier, it triggered it because part of my motivation to love my sons is my wife also. I think she deserves to see a father inside the home. You know what I mean? I think she deserves to see a man raising up other young men, you know what I'm saying, in the right way. So
don't put that responsibility on her.
Yeah, So I want to be able to show them that also. I just did a performance recently over the weekend. Hearing my son being in the crowd going, "Daddy, Daddy," like that's everything to me. You know what I mean? It means everything to me. Yeah. So within myself, I make sure, I did the work of going to therapy. I also, I'm a man of faith, and I take those principles very seriously. I really practice them in my life. So those are like two of the main things that I made sure to do to make sure that like I'm being the person that I wanted to be. Thank you. To being the person that I wanted to be, or that I want to be, for my sons.
Quick question. So I wanted to touch on the comment you made about wanting to know and talk to your father. I don't remember quite what it was, but I do remember the feeling that it gave me was that I wanted to know who my father was as a kid too, or wanted to know just to talk to him, like to know his life, like who, like you said that, like, hey dad, the little stuff, like, hey, how was school today? How was your life, or what'd you do today? Like, how was work that? So I wanted to say I can understand that longing and that yearning, that feeling of wanting to have your father, just to have regular conversations and understanding how important that is to pass on to your current children. And because as you stated, my kids do the same. They just want to be by me sometimes. They don't even want me to say anything, do anything. They just literally want to sit up under me. I'm on the couch. I got one of my daughters over here, my son over here. My other son is laying on the top of the couch.
That's how
Like for real, bro. And they're just sitting there, all on their games, doing whatever. I'm trying to adjust here and there to get comfortable, but all they want to do is sit next to me. So I can truly understand and relate to that of wanting that yearning of just wanting to know who and where your father is, just to have a conversation with him.
Yeah, and I think my youngest son is like that. My middle son, he's autistic, so he's not very verbal, but he just is around me like you. So he's probably like on top of the couch or like, but he's laying around me. But my youngest son, he's like under me. You know what I mean? Repeating everything that I'm saying, trying to take out the trash. He's only 3 years old. He's just trying to do every single thing, that I'm doing. And like you said though, when you don't have that growing up, you kind of don't know what you are. You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm proud to be there with him because, like, you're going to know what you are. You know what I'm saying? You're going to know how to have responsibility because you get to actually see it up close. You know what I mean? Where I didn't get to see it up close. And I know that it's going to be a moment where I had to tell him, like, yo, I'm making it up as I go. I didn't have this. I didn't have this. You know what I mean? So I want you to even take this to the next level when you get older.
Yeah. That's true. Is like you said, I grew up in that same little dynamic. No father, mama raising us. I'm telling you, most of my friends that I grew up in that dynamic.
Yeah, most of mine too.
I don't know too many. I can probably count on one hand the amount of friends or people I knew growing up that had both their mom and dad still married in the house, or whose dad wasn't on dope somewhere. Like literally, probably on one hand. So I definitely can relate.
Yeah, yeah.